Welcome to a series titled, I'm a Believer Now, What's Next? Today I have for you mission. What's the mission supposed to be? Do I gulp? Do you have to become a pastor? A missionary? Evangelist? Gulp? Just how should we go about thinking on mission? Hey, before we get started, I always appreciate new Patreon pledges. Well, honestly, I deeply appreciate my ongoing Patreon pledgers. I'm so grateful for my team. Over the last few weeks, I've been sending out little thank you cards, handwritten cards, because I want my team to know they are central to my ongoing efforts. But I also get a happy surge of energy from new Patreon pledges. At Patreon, you can find they're already set up gold, frankincense, and myrrh, $10, $20, $30 per month. You just enter your credit card information and it's bing, bing, bing. So, hey, especially if you're not contributing at a local church, consider supporting the Christian mission by sending out truth and light and logos and wisdom and grace. Consider supporting the Christian mission by making a UU pledge at Patreon. Patreon. Also, thank you to all of you social media helpers, you partners with me on the web, Victor S., Josh E., Pastor Steve, Alexa. Thanks truly, Alexa, for that recent, man, it was really cool, that meme you made, that recent quote of mine from the UU when I was a professor. I love that. I was honored. I'm humbled by your promotional efforts. Also today, I want to thank G.K. Chesterton, Vladimir Losky, Hans Urs von Balthasar, Donald Blush, David Duplessis, Cal Ripken Jr., and Billy Graham for your own timely social media likes and shares. The truth is, you guys are huge juice for getting the word out there, so thanks again truly. All right, let's go and think together about mission. I think mission and work and the category of what we do is so important, especially maybe among evangelicals, and we tend to overlook it. Thanks, Mark, for coming on the show with me again.
You're welcome. Good to be here, Ed.
My good friend Mark Cummings has been, with me for 6-7 months, but we're in a series right now called I'm a New Believer, so what do I do now? I'm a new believer, what's next? And one of the things that came up in that coffee conversation with Dennis and Shelby several weeks ago was, well, do I have to be a pastor? Mm-hmm. Do I have to be a missionary?
Yeah.
Do I need to be a Wycliffe Bible translator? And again, no one's going to be against pastors or evangelists or missionaries or Bible translators. God bless them. But I myself, the way that I grew up in church, hearing the pastor speak regularly, was pretty much under the impression that unless you were a pastor or a missionary or an evangelist, then you weren't really doing the mission.
Yeah. When I came to the Lord in 1972, what level of seriousness are you about serving God? And if you're really, really serious, you're going to go and you're going to find full-time ministry somewhere and be serving the Lord always.
Right.
No revelation or understanding of the ability to be used by God where you're at in an occupation, a job, a career. That's not full-time ministry.
Right.
That was very common.
I don't remember either of my boyhood pastors shaming us for not being a pastor or a missionary, but the implication was pretty profound, pretty clear.
Yeah.
That if you really want to please the Lord or earn rewards in the afterlife or really get on board, you would become one of those positions, right?
Yes. And you got messages like that in 1 Corinthians where Paul encourages people, if you have the gift, to not marry, and you have extra time and energy for the kingdom. But he didn't present that as normative,
No.
and he didn't present that as second class and less commitment. So he honored both of them as good.
That's good.
And so here's this guy, and I was mentioning to you, I was in a church where they'd bring in these radical people that are rocking the world, and it was supposed to inspire us, which it did in one way. But then I go home and I'm changing diapers, and I'm like, where does this all fit in without feeling guilt and like, wow, I've kind of missed it, I guess. There has to be some ability for the average person that's raising a family, has a career. It takes time, and saying, is this legit with God, or have I become altogether distracted?
And I like that you brought it up in terms of the body of Christ, because in Romans and 1 Corinthians, Paul goes on at length in both books about there are different callings, different gifts, and they're all serving their function toward the mission, right? We aren't all called to be a mouth, or we're not all called to be an eye or a foot. Everybody has their different role. I think that's a really helpful way to frame it. The way that I've been plowing now for months on end on this book on the afterlife, on the resurrection, on the Eschaton, and I knew that eschatology, the afterlife, the coming resurrection, the second coming of Jesus, I knew that was an affirmation of creation. We're not being saved from the world, we're being saved with the world. What I didn't see, see in all of that a couple scholars have been really raising up in the ante for me on this, and it makes total sense, is that God's original mission is also what we will be doing in the afterlife. So particularly in Genesis chapter 1, it spends 25 verses listing off God creating. And then you get to verse 26 and it says, be fruitful and multiply and go and fill the earth. He's giving us the garden. He wants us to take care of the garden. You get to Genesis 2 and it says, go do this and work and take care of the garden. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it's saying. And in both instances, the notion is that God gave humanity the task of not only filling the earth, which I do believe he wants families and populations everywhere. But the reason he wants populations and families and workers everywhere is to take care of the earth.
Yes.
And this is so simple and so basic, and I think so profound and actually really exciting to me, that I thought when Dennis and Shelby said that, I thought, you know what, Mark and I need to chew through this one, because I think not only will it stop a lot of false guilt and shame for people who aren't pastors or theologians or devotional leaders or Sunday school teachers, but the original mission was, I am a creator. I want you to go make stuff and take care of stuff and shape stuff. And I want you to go turn the earth into something more. And I don't want to dominate our whole start here, but so what I've just written in this chapter I'm working on is, when we go take a rose cutting and we turn that into a rose garden, we're fulfilling the Genesis mission.
I like that.
When we raise our kids up to be responsible, mature adults, not only just not that they don't go to prison, which I suppose is one threshold, but when we raise them up to be contributing members of society, they go hold jobs down, they go contribute, they go shape other people's lives through the myriad of ways that they can be makers and workers, we're helping to complete the God-given mission for us. And one of these theologians was even arguing that in a Hebrew understanding of what imago Dei means, the image of God, normally in classical theology we would list off characteristics like conscience, reason, artistic capacity, relational ability, language. You can make a long list of attributes, and we would affirm them all. This scholar was saying, but in the Hebrew worldview, Genesis is telling us right there, point blank, what is the image of God, and that is go do stuff to bless the planet.
That's good. So much focus on we're just occupying for a little while and we're going to heaven. It's good to have an eternal perspective.
Right.
That's different from saying nothing means anything on earth. It's just earth. We're going to be out of here soon. And to say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. I want your kingdom to come on earth right here. Here's where the action is, rather than, hey, get me out of here. You know?
That is so, isn't that interesting? Jesus didn't teach us to pray, please come the second time and take us away from the earth.
Yeah.
No, he says, pray this way, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Why does he say it that way? Because the structure of heaven, the order of heaven, the government of heaven, the righteousness of heaven, the beauty of heaven, he wants us to bring that to. So his prayer life, that's good, Mark. His prayer life is in concert with Genesis, not with well, it's all going to burn anyway.
Yes.
Come on, we're praying for you to come back, Jesus, and rescue us from the earth. That is not the biblical goal. It's not the way Jesus spoke. It's not, my goodness, in Revelation 21 and 22, John sees heaven coming to earth, and earth being the domain for all of eternity for everyone who's redeemed. That's a very different vision.
That is. And you think about having a vision and saying, if man had not fallen, what would earth look like? Let's move in that direction. There's all the things I want to manifest his kingdom values in the way that I live life on the earth. And it doesn't necessarily, if you're a songwriter, you can make hymns and religious songs, but can you write something that's wholesome, good? If you're creating a show, Broadway or TV, can you have something that's wholesome? Oh, no, it's got to be religious. If you do some art, can it be beautiful? It's got to be an artistic thing about Jesus.
It's got to have Jesus' name on it somewhere.
Yes, and it's this vision of it needs to be very, very religious, and it's like, no, it needs to honor God's values, and his values are beauty. His values are a wholesomeness and an integrity, and they don't necessarily have to be overtly religious.
Right.
You can affect culture, and boy, you could go off on the whole subject of the idea of saying, how do we bring that to our culture?
Yes.
Rather than just escape all of this.
No,
how do we penetrate that?
1,000,000% spot on.
Yeah.
And so ancient Catholicism and even halfway through the Reformation-ish, theologians, biblical scholars were talking about, and they called it to your the cultural mandate.
Yeah.
Go make culture. Now, this is going to seem so foreign to evangelicals, which is our tributary here in the United States, because evangelicals don't care one whit about culture. Yeah. They care about raising their kids, right?
Yeah.
They care about having responsible contributing adults and responsible family members, and they care about what's good and true. I really believe that. But they're not thinking what we're doing is contributing to the building of culture.
Yeah.
And to your exact point, what God is saying there is, I want you guys to go build culture all across the planet. Does that have to look uniform? No. In fact, again, Book of Revelation, Jesus talked this way too. He wants all the cultures to come into the city. Yeah. He wants the contributions of them all, but he wants them to have made a contribution.
Yeah.
That contribution is building culture. So
yes,
you said this, and again, this is so cool that we're on the same track. This, again, is so lost on evangelicals narrowly, all charismatics and Pentecostals, but I think even Protestants more broadly. It didn't used to be, but it is now. The good that we do now matters, even if it's not good with like an expressly gospel orientation.
Yeah.
Right? You said, and I wonder in the Eschaton, when the Lord comes and he brings his kingdom to earth for eternal life, what will remain of the cultural artifacts that were just good, true, and beautiful?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a song about Jesus. Maybe it was just a symphony.
Yeah.
That it made people live more noble.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tend to process that way.
Yeah.
What if the pottery didn't have an ichthus fish on it, but the potter was using her talent to bless people and to put beautiful objects around people so that they would live and serve and think differently about themselves for being surrounded by beauty?
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't mean to go this far down the path with this, but that stuff matters to God.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just have to be a witnessing track.
Yeah.
Or we handed out 1,000 Bibles. God bless everyone passing out Bibles. We're never poo-pooing that, but we overlook the original mission in Genesis. Go bless the planet. Go bless the animals. Go bless the plants. I'm giving you everything. Now go make something out of it.
That's good. If you look at the planet as a sinking ship, any nuanced service culturally, you're polishing brass on a sinking ship. It's useless. You're wasting your time. And so then culture is not affected. The church steps out of culture, and the influence isn't the same. You jump in and give a quick pitch for Jesus, and you jump out.
Yep.
But you stay out of the whole thing.
Yep.
There's not a penetration of a lot of the aspects of the gospel. I really believe that in addition to the gospel itself, there should be a beauty and music around it that prepares people in saying, this is different. This is countercultural in a certain way that I really like. I feel like there's life in this. I'm not sure what I'm feeling, but it's a preparational type of a thing, and people will notice. Hey, I notice the marriages. I notice the kids and the parenting. I notice the honesty. Well, is that going to be for everybody? No, but every person makes a difference, and people start to see, hey, I'm seeing a pattern. Can you imagine the power of that, where you say, wow, I notice a huge difference in the Christian community. So there's a lot of testimony in just the life. We're saying, I'm going to do it differently than the world does, rather than I'm doing it just the same way as the world does, but I'm going to church on Sundays. That's so not the commitment. I'm committed to his kingdom penetrating my world on a daily basis. And it's difficult when somebody wants to be the will of God, please God. And I think you had mentioned the idea that sacred secular divide myth, where if you're serious about God, the option is you really need to be a monk. You really do. Because changing diapers and doing this and that, you need to be spiritual all the time. And I've mentioned before, there's no uniquely sacred places, times, or people. The Holy Spirit is there living in us always. Are there times I go to church and it's a wonderful experience and God has called us to fellowship and edify one another? Yes, but he lives in me all week long. There's no set time. And so you can take the living God, his truths, his wisdom, his spirit, and allow him to move through you. Like Paul said, the love of Christ constrains me, compels me. He's moving through me. And to me, this is the challenge of ordinary life. Yes. You have this supposedly inspirational things that are out of bounds for people that are raising families, that have jobs. How can I perform mission and service in the ordinariness of my life? And that's the real challenge for most people.
Yeah, and I think that's what's been so exciting to me in this research and writing I'm doing, is that I'm not just trying to make the everyman feel better. I'm not just trying to make every mom feel less guilty.
Yeah.
Those are probably worthwhile, but that's not even my goal. My goal is to show what the scriptures are showing, which is that when we're contributing to culture, we are fulfilling God's mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to be this way. I tend to be critical of the world spirit and the depravity of culture, and I don't always hold out the alternative. And the alternative is something we all live toward. Mm-hmm. So being a Christian isn't just saying no to darkness, which of course it is, and half the church doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But being a Christ follower is also embracing the light. Mm-hmm. And when I embrace the light and say, you know what? I am going to raise my kids for the Lord.
Yeah.
We are going to pray as a family. We're going to pray at bedtime. I'm going to teach them scriptures. I'm going to teach them Bible stories. I'm going to teach them why they should believe, not just that they believe. All of that goes to mission, and it's a positive orientation toward living rather than an escapist. And I don't want to be unfair to the monasteries because they've blessed, again, human culture for 2,000 years, 1,900 years. But the goal, again, is not escapist. The goal is plugging in and making culture. And I just see this as a massive, massive oversight in the tradition in which I grew up, but which is Pentecostalism. But American evangelicalism more broadly doesn't want to talk about culture at all.
Yeah.
Right? I've lost thousands of listeners by engaging politics. Mm-hmm. I've lost thousands of listeners by talking about what's going on in culture. And I'm thinking, but the Bible was doing that from the very beginning, and it never stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything Jesus said and did had an implication for culture. Mm-hmm. But we run away from it. We don't want to talk about it because it's divisive, when in important ways that is the Bible's thrust, to remake and shape culture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're more effective evangelistically when you engage in that middle ground.
That's so
okay,
good.
We're going to talk whether do you know Jesus? There's no middle ground.
Right.
But if you have this entire richness of middle ground, leading them with a music that they hear and saying, wow, he thinks different. He thinks richer and deeper. What's that from? Well, he's a Christian versus, I'm not into anything or anyone. I'm not into art, sports, anything. It's just Jesus.
Yeah.
That's my first love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that transition, that overlap of involved in life, you wind up having a conversation, having a witness that's different than simply jump into the world quickly, give a quick pitch and jump out.
I think it's more authentic.
Yeah.
So I'm not a foodie. I don't like talking about food, but I like that Christians want to talk about food.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not an architect. I actually do like talking about architecture, but if I can talk with the way a city looks with somebody, that's a meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
That eventually goes to my Christian values that can then lead into conversations about reality. Like I've said for years that I think most of American urban architecture is IKEA, and it's a big concrete poop.
Yeah.
It's a big poop of concrete with some paint thrown on it.
Yeah.
Well, I think most people are interested in that conversation because I think they would go, yeah, it's hideous.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Whereas I was flipping channels last night. There was this lady on some Travel Europe show, and she went to Berlin, and she was standing in front of this Gothic cathedral that was 550 feet tall, and she completely 1,000% missed the point of the cathedral. It was so amazing. She didn't say one thing about what inspired that cathedral, or the point of a cathedral, or why anyone would ever want to go to a cathedral. She totally struck out. But you know what? She went to the cathedral and she admired it.
Yeah.
And the reason she liked that cathedral, and you and I know, is because that cathedral was saying something to the whole community, the whole continent, Jesus Christ is Lord. Mm-hmm. What was going on? Those Christians 800 years ago were thinking, how do we build a culture that honors God?
Yeah.
We don't think that way.
Yeah.
We think, let's throw down some concrete, paint it, and call it IKEA church.
Yeah.
And we'll go to a concrete turd, and then culture doesn't matter. And then when our kids grow up and they start becoming adults, they don't know how to talk with people about everyday life.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Those are the subtle things. There's very obvious things. I think about missions in the past. The Chinese missionaries, where the Chinese women used to want to be feminine and have small feet, and they'd put them basically in casts to keep their feet small, and they couldn't walk. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Or the Indian women, when their husband died, they'd be put on the pyre with the husband because they want to be together. Just crazy stuff. And the obvious stuff like Wilberforce and the slavery, those are huge cultural things where God's love and kindness come in and heal craziness.
Right.
But you think about the nuances of how kids are raised in families and ways of thinking, and saying, how can I affect that?
Right.
How can I penetrate that? How can I... So some of the things are just countercultural.
Right.
How can I step out and do it a little bit different? And people will say, hey, what premised that? Well, it was God's kingdom.
Right.
I'm trying to manifest his values, his ways.
So if we had a teacher, which we did in Boise here a few years ago, who wanted to put a gay pride flag in her classroom and teach her kids about inclusivity, and the community rallied by an overwhelming majority and said, we don't want that going on. God bless the local Christians who said, this is not the way we want to shape kids.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, they didn't say what their end goal was. They weren't saying we want to build a better culture. They were probably saying we want to protect kids, which is its own worthwhile merit.
Yeah.
But a reason a Christian would get engaged in that is because it's not good for culture.
Yeah.
Right? Or when we're selling babies, in the end, that's really bad for culture. Not even just the individual babies, it's bad for culture. Or when we're harvesting baby organs, it's not just bad for the individual babies whose organs are being harvested. We're creating an entire culture that is satisfied with the harvesting of organs. That's a bad culture.
Yes.
And that we care for that and defend that, or weigh in on that, or persuade on that, or talk to our neighbor about that, or have coffee with someone with an inquisitive mind, and we talk about that, we're actually serving God's mission.
I like that. I think about when Jesus said the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. I look around our society today, and so much of it is based on greed in the decisions everywhere. Something as subtle as saying, I'm going to serve and bless and give the people around me what are creative ways of doing it where I don't prioritize just money. Are you selling insurance like my dad did? People would ask him, how much insurance do I need? And he'd say, well, how much risk are you willing to take? Are you willing to take a lot of risks? You don't need much insurance.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people won't do that. They're going to max as much as they can.
Right.
He said, I'm here to serve people. And at a certain point, he was not even making many cold calls. People would say, hey, I know a guy that'll give you your options and then back away, but he'll empower you with information rather than manipulate you.
Right.
You got to see this guy. And I think something as subtle as that says, I am going to help people. I'm going to display generosity.
That's good.
I'm going to display less materialism, whatever, just kingdom values from an eternal perspective, from a people are the image of God. Let's rethink this, and this.
Right.
And it's subtle, but it's...
As someone who just maxed out, we paid our max out of pocket for all my pacemaker and follow-up stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, for insurance salesmen.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh.
Because we would, I mean, my goodness, I don't know where we would have come up with $100,000.
That's crazy.
To pay,
That's crazy.
to pay for stuff.
Yeah.
But what church has said, "Hey, thank you, insurance, all of you who sell insurance in our church community"?
Yeah.
But actually, they are contributing to culture. They're saving massive heartache. They're potentially saving massive ruination generationally of entire families, but we don't look at it that way.
Yeah. And so if you ask somebody, what's your calling? Well, I'm in ministry. I'm in full-time ministry. You're supposed to be responsive. I'm like, no, my calling is to serve and love my neighbor as myself. So if I'm selling insurance, I'm not going to max it more than they really need. I'm going to ask them, what's your options? What's your particular situation? Let me see if I can find out what's best actually for you, whether you're an auto repairman, whatever you're doing. How can I actually serve people and love my neighbor as myself?
Right. Yeah. You run an auto business. We have a friend, Tony, who ran an auto business his whole career. The church might go, well, I'm really grateful that we have a successful auto business magnate, auto business person in the congregation. He really supports us financially.
Yeah.
But they might probably never have said, we're so grateful to have a skilled mechanic with his crew because it makes our town better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it makes where we live a place that you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we all had cars and there were no auto mechanics and we had to drive 5 hours to Salt Lake City, that sort of becomes a drag on the fabric of the town, of the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's that way with every vocation, but what I'm saying is we don't think of it that way.
Yeah, we don't. I just went to we went down a side street, and here's this little place. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the gal is basically doing like a farmer's market, but it's year round. She built a building next to her house. It's not huge, but she took 20, 25 people that have goods, honey and bread and different things she makes, and they all put stuff in there. And you can go over there, and it's like going to a farmer's market, even when it's the cold, when it's closed down. And she's not making a lot. It's just enough for her to kind of be there and help run the thing. She didn't do it to make a ton of money. She's serving 25 people that this person makes bread. This person has bees and has honey. And it's all in this one building, and we'll buy some stuff from them. It's a win-win. But the idea was, I'm going to make this building so people that have skills but they and things to offer that can't do that year round because it's cold up here, they'll have a place. I'm like,
that's cool.
Wow, is that inspired by actual love? I mean, can you imagine if that was every direction? You're culturally influencing your decision. How can I bless some people around me?
And that's so cool because whether she's a believer or not, what she's saying is, I want to benefit other people.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's not saying, I want to run this co-op for 2 years and then retire fabulously rich.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So she's thinking, how can I bless my local community?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if we all approached our vocation that way, it would have a practical, real life effect.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I worked... When I was going to Bible school, before community college, I was in Bible school, and I had a job for 2 years at a Catholic elementary school. And once a week, my job was to vacuum out the Catholic sanctuary. And while I would be vacuuming, I'd be praying, Lord, while these people come in here, meet them with your word and your spirit.
Yeah.
Bless this community. Help these people to know you and to serve for you, right? And I think my respect drew me good will from from the principal of the school and the other teachers, because I wasn't in there as an oppositional presence.
Mm-hmm.
I had zero intention of becoming a Catholic,
Yeah.
but I was there to serve and do a good job.
That's good.
And
That's
I
good.
think something as simple as that, because Paul says work is unto the Lord. Do your work as unto the Lord. I think that attitude
Mm-hmm.
in whatever our vocation is
I like that.
could really add up. I'm a welder, right? Well,
Yeah.
I could just be putting in my hours and doing the minimal expected of me every time, or I could be doing my job with excellence
Yeah.
and blessing my boss and the customers. And over time, that's going to have an effect upon things.
What didn't Paul say in one place? Remain in the state that you were in when you came to Christ, even a slave. But he says, if you can get free, get free. But he's basically saying you can be used
That's good.
of wherever you are. Remain in that state. Are you married? Are you this? Are you that? You can actually be used. And even
Wow.
he said, even as a slave, you can be used. If you can get free, rather choose that. But he's saying, I think what he's getting at is just saying, you don't just throw everything out and redo everything.
Right.
You know, I think I've mentioned before the phrase that I like, the will of God is more an attitude than an itinerary. And it seems like Paul is saying, don't change your entire career, change your marriage, change your this and that. I got saved. I came to the Lord. I need to throw all this out and start new. And he says,
Yeah.
no, take what you have, bring Christ into all of it. Let him
Yeah.
speak to you. And, you know, that's such a challenge to say, how can Christ use me in the ordinariness of my everyday life?
Yeah.
When I say, wow, I've got a busy schedule this week, it probably won't anything happen. Well, be ready, be available. And I always say, notice needs around you. Notice when somebody's stumbling or struggling, so you can encourage them. I like to notice good qualities in people so I can say, hey, you know what I
That's
see
excellent.
in you? Just simple things.
Yeah.
Notice when they're spiraling down and take them out to lunch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's missions and service in the ordinariness of life, because I think the majority of people, that's where they're at. They're raising a
Oh,
family.
yeah.
They're tired. They're busy. They don't have a lot extra.
Yeah.
And but they have to really say, well, my life doesn't count because I'm not in full-time ministry. I'm not
Right.
this and that. I'm like, no, in the everyday life, value the fact that God says, I want you to raise kids. You'll be changing diapers and you'll be doing this and that.
Right.
But there's value to that. You're raising the next generation,
Yeah.
teaching them about Christ. But in the busyness of that, I need to have a life where I'm ready, I'm available, because who knows, out of a simple thing, there might be some divine appointment where I just say a sentence. I just do this or that,
Yeah.
that speaks to somebody. And it's so rewarding to say, the Holy Spirit can work through the ordinariness of my life. I'm not a spiritual James Bond.
And I think there's an integrity there, right? Like I've told you many times over our years of being friends, I'd rather sit around and talk about philosophy and theology and history and culture and politics. I'm not much interested in talking about the weather but there's something about, you can have a conversation about gardening or hunting or Little League or what's going on at the courthouse. Being able to talk that way with people not only makes you more real, I think it gives authenticity to what it means to follow Christ.
Yeah.
Like, well, actually, yeah, I can talk about gardening and I love Jesus too.
Yeah.
Oh, we could talk about gardening together? Mm-hmm. There's entrees there that are so ready-made that our Christian tradition hasn't taught. You need to be ready to share the Roman road with them. You need to go memorize all those verses in Romans so that you can put their arm behind their back and pin them down with reason and forcibly convert them to Christ, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm not even very convinced that lasts when we do that to someone.
Mm-hmm.
But worse, it just doesn't have integrity. Why not just be relaxed and be who you are,
Yeah.
and talk about your interests,
Yeah.
and talk about and connect with people at just everyday ordinary life. That is sort of like, again, a ready-made entree into sharing what it means to follow Christ,
Yeah.
or a beautiful life, or a life that wants to build culture,
Mm-hmm.
versus if I don't shout a Bible verse at them, I've missed my witnessing opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's an integrity or an authenticity or a fittingness, a naturalness, an ease
Yeah.
that I think's available that, again, we just don't tap into enough when we're talking together as believers.
Yeah. No, I think that's very common.
Before Mark and I tear into this topic on mission any further, I want to highlight for you an amazing roofing company, Gallerini Roofing, down in Southern California. Listen, if you need some roof repair work or need a new roof or have a commercial building that needs a roof, call Gallerini Roofing, 714-244-6567. They spell it Galla-RINI, Gallerini. They've been in business for over 3 decades, so they've done many different kinds of jobs, commercial buildings, churches, restaurants, and, of course, homes. They can handle your much-needed roofing job, and they'll do that with professionalism and skill. Give Gallerini Roofing a call at 714-244-6567. They're licensed and insured. They have outstanding integrity. Give them a call. One more time, 714-244-6567. Gallerini Roofing, an amazing sponsor of UU University.
Yeah. No, I think that's very common. That's a revelation that needs to happen in the church. It really does. How to live in a manner where Christ so permeates your everyday life. There's so many different ways that you can share ideas that lead into, this is why I do it this way. I'm a Christian, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Why are you doing it a little different? Why I like this attitude that you have. Well, here's where I get it from.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You mentioned the secular sacred split.
Yeah.
Like, again, being a pastor, missionary, a bishop, a priest, a acolyte, a superintendent, a Bible translator, a door-to-door witnessing tract passer outer. Those are all sacred things. Prayer, taking communion, reading your Bible, praying with people, going to Sunday school. Those are all sacred things. And the secular things of, you said changing a diaper or washing your car or showing up to work on time.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, the people I talk to who run a business, and they're like, I can't even get employees to show up on time.
Yeah.
Right? All of that is viewed as secular, as something outside of Christian mission, something outside of the church. And I think that split is a bad split, again, because I don't think the Bible anywhere shows such a split.
Yeah.
I think from the very beginning, the Bible shows that God cares about everything.
Yes.
Maybe not equally. He probably doesn't care about changing a diaper as much as he cares about a government policy to deal with the poor or to deal with criminals. But it still all matters to the fittingness of the matter. And again, if we can get past that, if we can see, hey, I'm actually changing my kid's diaper and I'm doing this as unto the Lord. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
That's just nothing that's been part of my church vocabulary in my 50 years of being a Christian.
I think it's important. Part of and I'd mentioned before that the idea of there's a mission, there's an inward mission. I want to know God, to know Jesus and make him known. There's the inward part of the mission. I want to know him. I want to worship him. I want relationship with God. And that will be the foundation that transfers into the outward mission. Like Jesus was saying in John 15, I think it is, abide in the vine, or you're not going to bear that much fruit anyway. The foundation is that relationship, is that worship, is that knowledge. I want to know him. I want to be like him, and I want to further his kingdom.
Yeah.
But my goal is not only to further his kingdom, I want to know him. That's part of the mission
Right.
that we're called to do. I want to be like him. We're called to be his ambassadors.
Yep.
So I've got these opportunities, and boy, there's been times when I'm parenting where I'm like, I'm becoming more like Christ. I don't like it this way.
Yeah.
But he's shaping and molding me
Yeah.
in marriage, in parenting, and so for a person to say only I'm not getting enough service in because 95% of life is very ordinary.
Yep.
It's a lot
Absolutely.
of upkeep. And if I'm despising the 95% of my life, and I'm going to be under a lot of guilt,
That's
a lot
so
of
good.
resentment, and I'm like, somehow I have to value that and say God is moving and working. So the mission isn't only outward service. It's not just the doing, it's the being. He actually wants us to become more like him.
Yeah.
He wants us to know him. And so there's a whole type of a calling that says,
Yeah.
you are called to be like me. You are called to know me. Out of that, the foundation, the love of Christ is going to move through you and constrain you
Yeah.
to love your neighbor as yourself and do service. And so the service is related to that. But there's a lot of times where, especially marriage and parenting, where you say, part of my mission is raising a good family, having a good marriage, growing and learning and becoming more like Christ
Yep.
as an ambassador for him.
Yep.
And that takes a lot of time, and it doesn't feel real spiritual. It doesn't feel real productive, but it makes a difference when it comes time to be a witness for him.
Oh, yeah.
That the inner life is there, not just the outward service.
Yeah. What's
So-
your intention through all of that?
Mhm.
I mean, again, life's so overwhelming. It's so mundane. It's so ordinary. Sometimes, I mean, I don't know how many jobs I had where I'd just be staring at the second hand on the clock. Like, when am I going to be able to punch out, right? That's so much of life that way. But if I can bring my intention,
Yeah.
my self-awareness into that and say, okay, Lord, how can I be present for you in this? Again, I think, well, it definitely matters to the Lord, but I think that over time there'll be a practical,
Mm-hmm.
transferable, noticeable difference about the doing of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, first off, you're going to be happier, right? Because if we all know, if it's one thing to suffer, it's another thing to suffer to know that there's a purpose.
Yeah.
It's one thing to work, it's another thing to know that I'm working for a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's one thing
that
to
is. Yeah, that's
be
good.
just putting in the time because I have to, and there's another thing because I have a goal that I want to share with my family.
Yeah.
And when we do that for
good.
the Lord, I think our everyday ordinariness can be more like a gift or an incense that rises up to the Father rather than just the drudgery.
I like that. That's important. Yeah. You're offering it up to him.
Yeah.
Because you look at, there are people that are lazy and are conning the system. And you almost take it for granted that you get up and work hard every day. And it's like, well, no, that is not everybody. There are a lot of people conning the system.
Right.
God is pleased when I get up and have diligence and
Yeah.
productivity and work hard for my boss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and no, that's so important because sin, the infection of sin runs deep. And we could just say, well, we're all wired a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, yeah, I'll make some leeway because we're all wired differently. That, I don't want to say what percentages of the population are just living like bloodsuckers off of the rest of the population. I won't throw a percentage out there. That is the result of the fall.
Yeah.
That is not God's design.
No.
That is not God's design that people are characterized by sloth and indifference and apathy and how can I get over on everyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. And that's something to guard in our own heart, right?
Yeah.
Like, Lord, I don't. And if you hate your job so much that it just sucks you dry,
Oh, yeah.
then you need to find another job.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make this about me, but when I got to the end of my teaching career, I was like, this is sucking my soul. And even though I've been 100% lit up for 24 years about it. This is sucking my soul, and I think if I stay here, all I'm going to be is a misery on everyone else.
Yes.
Time to change.
It's
scene.
time to change. Yeah.
Time to change the scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's so picture there's a band or a movie that's just utterly godless, and a pile of people support it, and it does great financially.
Yeah.
God can call me to have a picket sign out front of the movie theater or the band, but he can also call me to not pay any money and go there.
Right.
And there's a lot of subtleties that I'm affecting my culture because I've checked out. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you need to fix everything. And it's like, well, I'm not guilty because I don't have a picket sign out front of them.
Right.
I'm not saying that there are people that don't. They may want to do that, and it may make a difference and try to wake people up. But the idea that I need to be actively militant about everything or I'm being unfruitful, I'm saying, well,
Right.
there's an awful lot of things that would change if people would just vote with their feet. Vote with saying no, vote with checking out. You could have a revolution occur. But they don't.
No.
But I'm not part of the problem. But there are people that say if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. In other words, you got to get militant
Right.
or be guilty.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't really agree with that. There are times to get militant. There are times to stand up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot of things just like raising a healthy family that's revolutionary in a sick society
Yeah.
that God is pleased with, that take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And he's pleased with that.
Right.
I'm furthering his kingdom in a different way, and it's subtle and it takes a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the cumulative effect is tangible.
Yeah.
And man, have we ever seen that since late 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Man, have we ever seen how society can move on a 2-point tipping point. 2 points worth of the population can move in a certain way, and the whole population can suffer.
Yeah.
2 points of the population can agree to surrender their civil rights, and the whole population can have a profound, and it's not even just the medical health level of that. It was the collapse of trust that happened through those years, that today just has pretty much everyone of sane mind saying, I'm no longer believing what I'm told on the first time around.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's the point? We're talking about the quality of culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when 2 points worth of people, 2 percentage points worth of people have that kind of power, then voting with our feet really, really matters.
Yes.
Telling my kid you get 1 hour on the iPad, that's all every day, or you get 1 hour on your cell phone. Whatever you want to do, parents. You may think I'm crazy for saying an hour, but we're watching whole countries right now in Europe say we're not doing any more digital education. Mm-hmm. We are taking media out of the classroom because it's hurting kids. They're not learning. What are they saying? They're saying we want a culture where kids learn and they can be contributing members of society. Yeah. And this technology stuff is just evacuating people of their brain and soul.
Yeah. Yeah. To be a testimony and to be one that helps people rethink and just say, hey, I'm thinking about this different than the rest of the herd.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, again, where I go with this, where I'm going with it in my book is when Jesus comes and he's wiped away sin, death, and the enemy, and all of that has been dealt with, and however he sorts all that out, we could go into the detail of it. But then what are we going to do? Well, it may be the case that we worship Jesus for 1,000,000 years because we don't want to leave his presence. And then he may say, you know what, you guys? I want you to go to work. I want you to go build stuff. I want you to go make stuff. I want you to go build cities. I want you to go build orchards. I want you to go make potato fields. I want you to go do music. I want you to go do sculpture. And then we're going to be doing it without sloth and envy and pride and disease, right? But the goal's going to be what it was at the beginning, to go build stuff and build a culture that honors God.
That's good.
And I've been so blown away by this in this study, because it's like, well, of course that's the vision.
Yeah.
Of course God wants to be glorified through all of that. Of course he loves sharing that kind of industry with us. That's who he is. That's the kind of God he is.
Yes. He wants us included, and it's interesting because I'm coming from a place where you and I lived in Southern California with basically no yard. Come up here, I've got a couple acres, and I purchased the place when it was a junkyard, and it has been the greatest joy to make an ugly junkyard, slowly making it beautiful. And I was always concerned, it's like, there's nobody that can do a better job making heaven and earth beautiful. He could have everything perfect, just like the Masters that we watched. All the flowers are perfect, all the lawns perfect, and I get to sit and look at it, and that still bums me out. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if he gives me a little bit of land and says, make this look good, Mark? I mean, like, that's more special to me than just like, oh, it's all perfect.
You mean
there's nothing to do
if you had bought it perfect
in earth after Christ comes?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what I'd really like? If God gave me a couple acres and said, you know the plants more, make it look beautiful, versus it's all done. You guys just kind of relax, just like you thought you were going to do in heaven, just sitting on a cloud.
Yep.
You just sit next to a lake down here. It's all
you
done
guys get
for
in your
you.
hammock.
Yeah.
Just get in your hammock and watch me do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tanya and I just drove down to northern Nevada a few days ago, and pretty much from here to northern Nevada is one barren sweep of high desert, and no one talks about kind of mountains.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I drove past that for 300 miles ish, and I thought, what if one day all of this is productive farmland? What if one day this has communities living all through it?
Yeah.
That has animals and vineyards and orchards and
like
farmland and theaters and music halls. And we think, well, it's just going to be Jerusalem. We're all going to live in Jerusalem because that's where Revelation, the New Jerusalem, or you can frame it other ways. We're all live in Jerusalem. It's like, well, God loves the whole cosmos. He loves the whole planet. He wants us to go turn it into something.
Yes.
And you getting to do that with 2 acres, I just think it's the coolest thing with your background in horticulture and wanting to be. And you've been given a tapestry that fits your own gift set. It's just the coolest thing.
Oh, it is. It is. It's wonderful. Yeah, the idea that it's all done for us. And I'm like, even then, do I need to water it? Or will God miraculously just, there's enough water that you never have to put any sprinklers or this or that in? How, if we're raising those beautiful crops, do we need to do something? Oh, no, God will just kind of make it happen. And I'm like, yeah, but what if we need to make it happen?
Yeah.
I really can see, it just amazes me how much he's included fallible mankind and Christians in the preaching of the gospel and the witness. I'm like, oh, it could have been done so much better if he did most of the work.
Yeah.
And he's so willing to give it to us that we mature, that we be involved in it. And I'm like, why wouldn't that happen in the
He wants
afterlife?
That 2 acres to look like Mark and Christine worked it.
Yeah.
He's not like, well, you didn't make it the way Jesus would have made it. He's like, I'm giving you this land, your welding job, your office job, your insurance. I'm giving you this job to go turn it into a blessing that fits who you are as something offered to me.
Yes, like you mentioned in the beginning with Genesis, you're conquering the land.
Yeah.
You are tending the garden.
Yep.
Well, how fulfilling is that?
Yep.
We return back to that.
And he loves that we love that, and he loves that we all get to share that together.
I like
This is
that.
the coolest vision.
Yes.
Thanks, Mark. This has been
You're welcome.
really fun
Yeah.
to think through what it means to be involved in mission. You guys, God bless every pastor
Yeah.
and every missionary and everyone who's serving Christ faithfully, and God bless everyone who's just an ordinary schmuck who's faithfully serving Jesus where you are. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Mark.
You're welcome, Ed. Great to be here.
Until next week, you guys, thanks for joining us. Go and turn your beautiful God-given brains on.